What's up, everybody? I'm here at the studio, the lab, whatever you want to call it, here at upstairs at Church on the Move, and I have a guest with me, somebody who's never been on the podcast before, the first lady on the podcast.
Hey.
Wow, let's go. This is what I said I've been needing, some more women representation. So I'm here with Ava Santana. So
Hey.
say hi to everybody. So tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, how old you are. You know, if you go to school, where you work, all that
Right.
stuff.
My name is Ava. I'm 21. I'm a medical assistant. I go to church on the
Let's go,
move.
real heroes.
I'm here.
Let's go. We're here. Church on the Move. If you're not here, then where you
Where you
at? Exactly.
at?
She already knows. She knows what we're talking about.
Come on.
So yeah. So we were up here. We were talking. We're just about kind of what we want to talk about. So first off, I didn't know Ava was gonna record with me in advance. This is how you know it's God sent. All right. So because
Yeah.
this wasn't planned at all. So I was on my way here, actually, and they said, Aaron's always like just trying to put people out of their comfort zone, right? And he's like, hey, Ava has some fire stuff to say. She has some fire stuff to say. I'm like, all right, well, I'm almost there. Let's hear it. So we were kind of sitting here, and I was just listening to Ava's story and everything like that, and we were kind of trying to come up with a topic that we could talk about. And I don't even have a title for it, but I'll title it at the end. You'll see the title,
Yeah.
obviously, because you'll be clicking on it. You're
We'll
listening
get
to it
it.
already, so obviously there's a title. So we're gonna start off with talking about self-image.
Ooh.
So it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be
tough.
yes. Tune in. This is gonna be a really good
This is
episode.
raw right here.
Yes. So I put right here, what do we think about ourselves, but and also what do we want to think? Because I feel like those are two different things. Like what we actually think about ourselves
Yeah.
and what we want to think about ourselves. So we're gonna go straight into it. It's gonna be
Alright.
kind of rough. So
Here we go.
what do you feel like you think about yourself when it comes to self-image? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it doesn't have to be right now. It could have been something in the past, like something that you felt like about yourself in the past. Well, actually, you know what? Time out.
Yeah.
Let's rewind.
All right.
Go ahead and tell us the story about why we even have this topic to begin with.
Okay, so basically, I've just kind of been dealing with some stuff that I have not shared with anybody that was even
Let's
close
go.
to me.
Exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive right here. So basically, for about maybe a month and a half, I've been dealing with some issues like very unbalanced, really bad headaches, blurred vision, shaky vision,
Yeah.
all of these different things. And so I didn't realize I had a fear of the doctors.
And you work with one.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Yeah, I would. So I'm a very out of sight, out of mind kind of person. Well, hopefully not anymore. But I used to be. And
Wow.
yeah, very raw right here. And so basically, I wouldn't think about it. I'd be like, you know what, it's fine. You know, maybe I just need to drink more water, all of this different stuff. And so finally, Friday, I kind of got tired of it because I almost like fell over. It was
Wow.
yeah, I'm like
At work or what?
yeah, so I was about to get on the elevator and somebody should be able to stand on one foot, you know? And I used to
Yeah.
be able to do that. And I stood on one foot, I almost fell over. I was like, okay, I've had enough. Like, this is ridiculous.
So were you standing like on one foot in the middle of the elevator, or were you? leaning
No,
up
I was
against
about
the
to get on because I was about to pick up my box. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, I just kind of leaned over and almost fell. And I was
Wow.
like, it wasn't the first time. Like, my eyes kind of would take a moment to catch up with where my head was
Oh.
going, which sounds kind of weird,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, I was like, I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, so then that happened, and I have a nurse that I work with, so I kind of asked her, and so she started by saying, do you have high blood pressure? And I was like, low-key offended. I was like,
Oh, wow.
I was like, no. And then she was like, do you have diabetes? I was like, no. And so she was like, I think you should get your labs done. So automatically my mind is working like,
Yeah.
okay, what is going on? What's happening? And so, and then I called my dad, and I tell my dad, and he's like, of course, he's a man of God, and he's like, you know, Ava,
Let's go,
you're
Jesse.
gonna get through it.
Pastor-
Yeah,
Pastor Jesse.
hey. And he's like, you're gonna get through it. You know, Jesus is a healer, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And then he questioned me, and he's like, so do you have high blood pressure? And I'm like,
that's just the dad in them. That's all it is.
I
That's
was
the dad in
like,
them.
Dad, this is, I don't need this right now. Like, you're supposed to encourage me. Like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so I had also kind of been dealing with, so I would drive maybe even like 5 minutes. I'm sitting there and I would drive, and this has been going on for like a couple months, even before all this stuff. I would drive and my pinky toe would go numb. And
What?
yeah, it's kind of weird. And so it's kind of like I guess, a symptom of diabetes.
No way.
So I wouldn't want to think about that. I wouldn't tell anybody. And I'm like, I'm not going to the doctors. Like, I'm fine. Maybe it's the shoes I'm wearing. Maybe it's the way I'm putting my foot on here. Let me move it around. And so, yeah, I would kind of get nervous and I wouldn't say anything. And so I kind of had enough. And basically, I started thinking about my family and what they've always told me. So on my mom's side, they're a very negative family. And so I've always been told, you have diabetes on both sides of your family. You have to be careful with what you eat. You have to watch your weight. So I've always kind of been told this stuff about weight and diabetes and health. And so even my grandma, I remember I was 12 years old and I was trying on a dress at a department store, and she told me, "You look like you're 6 months pregnant."
Wow.
I had a grandfather, I was 17 years old, and he told me, "I'm gonna buy you diet pills." And I had
Wow.
another grandfather who I had never met. We were in Mexico.
What?
And
I don't even know you.
yeah, I didn't even know him. It was my stepdad's father. And
Okay.
so we went over there, and he told me I was fat. And I was like, I don't even know you,
Wow.
like, and you're making comments. And so my whole life, I've always kind of been, I guess, the bigger sibling. And I never, I guess, I don't know. It's weird. It's different to see like one sibling struggle with something that the other one would never, I
Yeah.
guess. And yeah, so it just kind of affected me my whole life, the way
Mhm.
I looked at myself, my body image. Um, TV and models and Instagram doesn't help that either. You
Yeah.
know, like seeing what a woman, what society thought a woman should be and what
Yeah.
a society thought they should look like, and not seeing that when I looked in the mirror just kind of has affected me my whole life. And
Yeah.
everybody's comments about my weight when it's nobody else's business,
Yeah.
really. So yeah.
Yeah. So then, so going back to what I was trying to say in the beginning, so is that you feel like that's kind of what you thought about yourself back then about
Yeah.
those things, like that kind of started affecting the way you thought about yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think when people kind of make comments about yourself your whole life, that's what you see yourself as.
Yeah.
Somebody calls you fat 100 times, you're gonna be like, okay, maybe I am fat, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah,
And then the thing about what society says, like going into that, like how you said, society sometimes tell us this is what's good, you know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah.
what's bad, and this is what doesn't look good at all. This is
Yeah.
ugly, you know what I'm saying? And that that can take effect, like how you said,
Yeah.
with social media and seeing what you see on TV and the models and everything like that. And society says
Yeah.
these things are what's beautiful. These things are what is what's pleasing to the eye and everything like
Yeah.
that. And I think that's totally opposite of what God says.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what God says. So I was looking at Bible verses about what God says, and I was like, I already got you. I already have these because I've been thinking about this for a long
Listen.
time. So one of the ones she said was, what was it, Solomon?
Yeah.
Solomon or Songs of Songs. It's a bunch of different ways to put it, but it's 4:7. It says, "You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you," and that's what God says. And the
Yeah.
other one is Ephesians 2:10, and it says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So, I mean, there it is right there firsthand. We're God's handiwork. There's no flaw in us. And I'm also reminded, too, of another verse. And it doesn't really have to do with anything about our image, right? But I'm reminded about the verse. I don't remember who it was, but God told him to eat something. And he's like, but it's unclean. And then God said, don't call what I made unclean.
Yeah.
Right? And when I thought about that, I kind of drew the whatever you want to call it, what is it? I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna keep going. I drew the comparison to like how God thinks about us. Like don't call what I made like ugly. Don't call what I made
Yeah.
certain bad things because I made it.
That's
And
good.
that's what he says. I feel like that's what he says about us. You know what I'm saying? Like when we talk down about ourselves,
Yeah.
or even about other people. Like don't say that about my creation because that's what I created.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
but a lot of times words have very bad effects on us. You know what I'm saying? Like starting with hurt, like you said, um, those things were said over your entire life. You know what I'm saying? And you said that once you hear something a lot, you start to believe it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that can affect, your self esteem, how you feel about your image, and everything like that. And how do you feel? How do you feel like that made you feel back then? Like when you think about the words that were said back then, how do you think you felt about yourself back then? Because
Yeah.
how old were you around this time?
Man, this has been going on since I was little, like 6. Even it starts as a baby being called gorda. Everybody calls their kid gorda. Come
Yeah,
here.
and
Yeah.
I remember speaking about that. We were talking. I was talking with Aaron, and he said that in Mexican families they like find that insecurity in you, and they make that
Yeah,
your
yeah,
nickname.
yeah. I was like, dang, yeah, I've been in that since I was little,
Yeah,
like, yeah. So it started when I was little and just even now, like it's affected me pretty bad. Just the way I see myself, it made me feel pretty unloved, like by my parents, by my family, and really kind of made me search for that love somewhere else. Like, if I'm not getting called beautiful here, I'm gonna get called beautiful somewhere else,
yeah,
by somebody else.
yeah,
And so even not having my mom, not having my dad for a
yeah.
while, for years, affected me. My dad now, he's in my life and he calls me beautiful
Hmm.
all the time.
Let's
I
go,
will look,
Jesse. Let's
I
go.
will look beat up and busted, and he's like, "I love you, beautiful. You're so beautiful.
But
Like,
that's
look at
yeah,
you,"
that's what
and
parents. I feel like that's what we're as parents what we're called to do.
yeah,
You know what I'm
build
saying?
up your kids.
Yeah.
And so I was getting torn down at my mom's. So yeah, just not having that love and that just
Yeah.
that comfort and being able to go to them, and like even with these health issues, I refused to talk to my mom about it.
Hmm.
I would not. The first thing I thought of was I can't call my mom.
Wow.
I can't tell her. I can't tell her because then she's gonna say I knew it. I was right. See,
Wow.
you do have diabetes. You weren't watching what you were eating. Look at your weight. Like
Wow.
it yeah, affected that whole relationship with her. So
Yeah. And it's crazy that you say that, and I feel like as not even parents, but just friends, family, and everything like that, we have to be careful what we say around other people because I mean, your mom loves you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah. And I feel like if she knew the gravity, because obviously she doesn't know the gravity of it, because if
yeah,
she did, she wouldn't be saying those things.
yeah,
And if we knew the gravity of what we say to others, because sometimes we say things to other people that we don't even think about. You know what I mean? Like we kind of
yeah,
just say whatever we think, and we throw our words around like crazy, not really keeping in mind how other people feel about it. And I bet you your mom would want you to be able to call her about those things. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
definitely.
I think that's why going into what I'm trying to say is we have to be careful what we say because you never know how it's going to affect somebody, and you never know how they might feel about you later on in life,
Yeah,
especially as parents. And that's kind of what we're talking about too,
yeah,
about parents and everything like that, about mothers and fathers and everything like that, and why it's important for a father to be in your life, a mother to be in your life, and
yeah,
especially fathers, because I mean we all know statistics about people growing up without their dad is a lot more than people growing up with their mom. And I was telling Ava that the reason why it's so important for a father to be in your life is because that's where you get your last name from. You know what I'm saying? That's where we get our identity from. That's half
definitely.
of your name.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You got your first name and you got your last name. And that's half of basically who you are. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And that's why it's super, super important for fathers to be in your life. I know I talked about this before in the podcast before, but it's super, super important to be in your kid's life as a dad, and just being there for them. And I kind of want to go into the journey of your self healing, and kind of how it started. So where would you say that it started at?
man. I've had a lot of self-hate growing up
Hmm.
all of my life.
Yeah.
Just by these words, you're gonna be pre-diabetic and you have to watch what you eat, and like being I've always been told I'm the bigger sibling, even by family, and they think it's a joke or it's funny. But those words have affected me
Yeah.
years and years later. I remember those things. So it didn't start till last year. I
Wow.
I had a vision basically while I was alone in my apartment. And so I saw this little girl on Twitter, and she was, the dad was on the phone with the little girl, and the little girl was yelling at her dad saying, I hate you, I don't love you. And the dad is sitting there like, listen to me, I love you, you are my daughter, and I love you.
Yeah.
And so I watched that video and I started crying because I was like, that little girl doesn't hate her dad. She loves her dad. She's just hurt for whatever reason they're going through. She's hurt. And so I started crying so hard. I was crying hard, getting that healing in. And so I had a vision basically, and I saw myself as like a 5-year-old in 6th grade, middle school, high school, probably around like 18 or 19 later on. And so at this point, I'm 21, so this happened a couple months ago, I guess. And so I told all of like those versions of myself, I love you. I love you so much.
Yeah.
You deserve love.
That's good.
You're going to be okay. It's okay. And you are so powerful, because my whole life I've been a timid person, very timid, very little, like thinking of myself as very little and shy and not very open. And not I was never the loud person. So I told myself just all of these different things. And after that was really the beginning of this journey of self-love and finding myself and healing myself. So, well, with the help of God, of course, like I would not do this on my own. So, that's when it started, and it's just been a journey since, and it hasn't been easy at all. Like I'm still working every single thing out.
Yeah. So going into the other part that we've written down together about changing your atmosphere. So what would you say that you did to start changing the atmosphere around you?
My family on my mom's side is pretty negative, and I don't mean to bash them this whole podcast.
No, I mean, you're just being honest.
But it's just being honest. I was a negative person too when I was around them. So growing up, they've just always been kind of negative, down talking, and all of that stuff. And I know that they love me, but that's just what I was around. So I kind of removed myself from that whole situation. I used to go over to my grandma's house, and my uncle and her would both say, why are you here? Nobody wants you here.
What?
Why are you here? Yeah. And it would hurt my feelings, because of course all my life I never felt loved. I never felt appreciated. I always felt like that orphan spirit, And so they would say, oh, we were joking. And that's not a joke, because of course, words hurt. So I removed myself from that situation. I removed myself from my mom. I was kind of homeless for a while. I was sleeping on my sister's couch for about a year due to circumstances. And I removed myself from my mom's because it was just always questions about, what am I doing with my life? What are you going to do with your life? You're doing nothing with your life. So I had to remove myself, and I started coming around my dad, and I loved him because he would always tell me, you are celebrated here. You are appreciated here.
Let's go, Jesse.
My dad is, I love my dad so much. I say this all the time to everybody. I love my dad. So he would always tell me, you don't go where you're tolerated. You go where you're appreciated.
Dude, I've been saying that like the past 2 weeks. I'm going to go where I'm celebrated,
exactly.
not tolerated.
So, and everywhere, like jobs, friends. Family, anywhere. I'm not going where I'm just tolerated at this point. I need to be loved. I know what I deserve. So
that's good. And then going into even changing the people that you're around, kind of like how you're kind of tapping into that. So I wrote down right here Numbers 13. So that's kind of I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's kind of a long story, but I'm gonna give you the abridged version. So that was back whenever they sent spies into the land, the promised land that they were promised. And when Israel was looking for, to take ownership of the promised land, and they sent 12 spies in, right? And so keep in mind, these 12 spies, they all saw the same thing, right? They saw the same thing, right? And when they came back, they gave their report, and only 2 of them gave a good report, and the other 10 didn't, right? So 10 of them were like, oh, we can't fight them because they were giants, right? We can't fight them. We look like grasshoppers to them and everything like that. And the other two were like, man, the land's flowing with milk and honey, and we could take it. We could do it. They kept saying that, like, we can take ownership of this land. We could do it. And all that to say that you have to change the people around you.
Yeah.
Because we could all see the same thing, but it's about the perspective of what we see. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like what you're going into, is that your dad chose to see the good in you, which is, it's always been there. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
like how in the land, the milk and honey's always been there. You know what I'm saying? It's just they chose to see things other than the good things. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, is that you have to be around people who are going to speak life in you. You know what I'm saying? Not death. You know what I mean? And those are the kind of people that you want to be around. And kind of go into when they started praying for you. I know you started talking about that with me.
So, I finally told someone, I told Vanessa, who's my spiritual mom, and I told Pastor Trini and Pastor Maite on this past Friday about what's been going on, and just kind of asked for prayer for healing. And so it was kind of crazy. I told them, and Pastor Trini knew that it was word curses about diabetes.
So it was going into that. It was things that weren't even true.
Yeah, it was trying to manifest itself literally
Wow.
in my head. And because that day, man, before I had got to Vanessa's, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to worship throughout the day, trying to keep a positive mind. But
Yeah.
sometimes your mind wanders and it goes places. And
Yep.
I'm just thinking about the bad things. And I'm like, what if it's diabetes? And I even told my sister, it was funny. Well, it's not funny, but
Oh wow.
she was like, okay, what do you want to eat? Once I got home, she's like, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, nothing. Like, I have
Oh, wow.
diabetes probably. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm not trying to self-diagnose myself, but I'm like sitting there like, oh my gosh.
You're on the thing where people always, what is it, like the medical thing where they like,
Oh my gosh, yeah, medical MD or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'm like,
I feel pain
symptoms
in my,
of.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
pain in my right leg. Oh yeah, you're dying.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what it is. And so finally, like, I just kind of felt very heavy throughout the day. Like, I was trying to press through, I promise, but
Yeah.
it'd be hard.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I got to Vanessa's and they prayed for me, and he knew it was like word curses of diabetes
Let's
that have
go.
been spoken over me. And it's kind of crazy because I went to another church and I got a word that word curses were going to be broken off of me in this season.
Wow.
And so I was like, I don't know what I was thinking that day, but I was like, I mean, of course, word curses are gonna be broken off. It's part of the process. Like, it's nothing. I mean, it was nothing
You don't know
special at that
anything.
point.
You don't know what you're talking about.
I was like, okay. And so it was crazy. Like a week later, they're sitting there like, yeah, this is a word curse that's trying to come against
Wow.
you right now.
And they already knew what it was, right?
Yeah.
That it was the diabetes.
Yeah,
things?
and I
Wow.
was like, and I'm sitting there, and I wasn't trying to agree with that, because that's how the enemy gets you, is you're speaking life into that thing, like you're
Yeah.
life or death, and that's how it was becoming at that point. So yeah,
That's awesome. And that goes into, how we were talking about changing people around you, because they decided like, hey, that stuff's not true. You know what I'm saying? And they saw into it already, saying, we already know it's word curses. They even knew, they called it out by name when they were praying for you.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people you need to surround yourself with. And, the importance of having those kind of people around you, having those two spies or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
those people
that's
around
good.
you who are going to tell you, hey, this isn't true, or this is what it really is, and stuff like that. And that, all that to say that it's important for you to even find a home church. And
Definitely.
I always say this in every single podcast: you surround yourself in a home church, surround yourself with people who are going to pray for you, who are going to stay up when you're in that mountain. You know what I'm saying? When Jesus would go up to the mountain, he'd come back down, and the people that he brought with him would always be asleep. Find people who are going to stay awake with you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
it's
And
sorry.
no, go ahead.
But I told Vanessa a couple weeks ago, basically, like, I was at the point where I was ready to kill myself.
Wow.
2 years ago, and I was very deep in it, and
Yeah.
so I told her one day, the first day I got prayed for, I wrote letters and everything at this point.
Wow.
And so one day I finally got prayed for, And my dad, he encouraged me very much, like, just go, just go. And
Yeah.
so I was like, you know what, why not? Like, I have nothing to lose at this point. And so I went and I got prayed for. And that day, Vanessa told me I would be the one to bring my family to the Lord.
Let's go.
And so I'm sitting here my whole life like, who am I? What am I here for? Why am I here?
Yeah.
There's no point in me being here. I feel so useless. And finally to get something like, wow, this is what I'm here for. This is what God put me on this
Let's
earth
go.
for.
Thank you, Jesus.
This church on the move, eh?
Shout out.
And
Where you at?
these people have built me up. Like, I sat there my whole entire life feeling unloved, unvalued, just bad, you know?
Yeah.
And so finally these people helped me see the value in myself with the Lord, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing.
That's awesome.
Shout out.
And yeah, shout out to Church on the Move. 1502 Houston Street.
Hey.
But we sound like a gang, right?
Right?
You need to chill out. So yeah, going into the next thing about learning God's promises to you, because that's another thing that's super important on your journey of self-healing when it comes to, you know, your self-image or the words that's been spoken over you your entire life, word curses and everything like that. Learning what God says about you, because if you go into the Bible, there's so many things that God says about us, about how we're a royal priesthood.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That we're chosen, we're the sons and daughters, and that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. All these things, and learning these promises, that it's not just words written down in a book, but these are things that the Lord continuously says to you, that He's always speaking over you, that He sings over you. You know what I'm saying? The Bible says the Lord delights in us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And these are things that I never really thought about. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't think about that. The Lord delights in me. You know what I mean? That's crazy to think about, because I feel like a lot of times in life we kind of put God so far away from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, He's just someone who looks down on us
Right.
every once in a while, and like you know what I'm saying? But the thing is that He always delights in us. And the thing is that God wants to speak to us so much more than we even want to speak to Him, because, you know, there's times where you might be feeling down and everything like that, and it's like, God, I just want to hear from you. And the thing is that God is like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, son, daughter, I just want to hear from you. You know, tell me your problems. The Bible says,
Yes.
cast your worries on Him. You know what I'm saying? All these things, learning these promises is going to be so vital and so pivotal into learning and going through your journey of self-healing. And, you know, kind of to wrap everything up, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to speak to the people. What would you say to people who are struggling with self-image, or, you know, these bad things that are spoken over to them? What would you say to them? Something that you've learned, or something that you would feel like the Lord's pressing on your heart to say to people who are going through the same thing that you went through and are still going through?
I would say, I love you, and you have value in your life, and the Lord has placed you here for a reason. And even when you think you are doing nothing with your life, or you have nothing going for yourself, or you don't know what you're doing at this point, you're going to figure it out with the Lord. Run to Him. Run to Him, and He will show you your value. He
That's
will
good.
show you love. He loves you, and I love you.
That's good. And to add on to that, I think kind of going to what we were talking about, you know, just being able to look at yourself in a different way. Look at yourself in the way that God sees you. You know,
Yeah.
and being able to see yourself through His lens, and being able to break those things off of you, and being able to understand that, you know, these words that someone's speaking over you, they have no power over you. And at the end of the day, it's what God says. It's what God says that holds true, and that will always be true, and that will last forever. Because at the end of the day, these words aren't going to last forever. When we get to heaven, all these things that's been spoken over us, and not even when you get to heaven, now, starting now, these things that are spoken over you are going to be broken off of you, and
Yeah.
understanding that, you know, this is the season that I'm going through now, and I'm going to come out of it a stronger and better person, and understanding that these words aren't going to kill you. The understanding that because they can't kill you, you know what I'm saying? The Lord has His hand over you. And also, too, I don't want to say that if you're feeling any way about, you know, wanting to take your own life, or, you know, feeling like you're not good enough, and feeling like you're never going to amount to anything, start speaking to somebody about it. You know what I'm saying? And thankfully, Ava had the had the knowledge and the wisdom to go talk to somebody about this. You know what I'm saying? And being able to go talk to a trusted person, a mentor. You know what I'm saying? Even a parent, to a trusted parent. You know, that you could speak up to about this is very important. And knowing that, you know, like how she said, you are loved. And, you know, we love you here at Church on the Move. For our member, even if you're not a member, you know, we love everybody here. And, you know, if you need somebody to talk to, if you need someone to speak to, you know, we're here at Church on the Move almost all the time. And if you need someone to speak to, even the pastors are here. And, you know, we're just going to speak life into you. We're just going to love on you and everything like that. But is there any final remarks that you have? Or
I just want to say, start declaring the word over yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that was something that really helped me, even looking in the mirror and saying I love you, because I wouldn't believe it for a long time, and it's still a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
To tell myself I love myself. So I would just say, just start saying it, even if you don't believe it. It's like forgiveness, you know, like I forgive them. Even if you don't forgive them, you're gonna eventually forgive them. It's gonna be easier to say.
Yeah.
So, and declaring the word over yourself, like I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The
Yeah.
Lord loves me. He died on the cross for me. You're gonna see your value eventually. So yeah.
That's good. Well, you know, if you want to reach us, you could reach us at ___ podcast on Instagram. If you want to DM me, if you have any topics, or, you know, praise report, you know, you got a prayer request or whatever it is, you could also email us at theinnercirclepd@gmail.com. And I just want to thank everybody for listening. And if it's your first time listening, thank you so much. And I want to thank Ava for, you know, coming on the podcast, being so bold to tell her story on the podcast. That's awesome. And, you know, thank you for being here. And thank you for everybody for listening. And that's pretty much it.
All right.
And, you know, it's been real. It's been fun. But it ain't been real fun. So I'm out of here. Thank you, everybody.